streaming on this end. Oh, I'm gonna turn Audacity on because I forgot until right now. There we go.
I didn't.
Look at you. Look at us. Look at us. All right, we are live and thriving. What's up, everybody? We're gonna run the intro in just a sec, letting YouTube and OBS catch up and do all of the things. Hope everyone is well. Let's get started, folks, for the PlayStation Drive.
I guess we could talk about that thing that you and I did together.
We can talk about it.
Yeah,
right
I forgot.
after
That should have been in there. Yeah.
The intro. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Carpool Gaming's The PlayStation Drive for episode 99. Court, we're celebrating 100.
Wayne Gretzky.
Next
Wayne Gretzky.
week. Oh, and Brooklyn 99. That's the only thing that
No.
Yep. Wayne Gretzky, that's the basketball player, right? On this week's show, we are going to be talking all about Division Day, PlayStation acquisitions, price increases, and a whole lot more. So strap in and get ready. But before that, Court, it's lovely to see you, dude. Thank you for joining me, the Supreme Court of Canada himself. How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. We were literally live and in color together like days ago.
I know, dude.
3 days ago. Yeah.
We took a picture of what realized did look like a giant PS5. We were all like, looking good in the suits and everything. We got to see a bunch of some of the other members of the community and people from the carpool gaming world at large. But where were we, Court? What were we doing?
We were at what were we at? We were at the Canadian Video Game Awards. Yep. It was a great fun had by all, and I to our friend Dapper Tux and Melissa Roberto, good on you.
Yep.
Well done on hosting during technical difficulties, we'll call it. But you know what? It was a lot of fun to be with a lot of the people in the community, and also the people that we share the space, the social media space with, and everybody kind of just took it in stride. I fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard at a picture I took.
Court literally fell out of his chair. I wish I could communicate
from laughter.
From laughter. It was amazing. It was amazing.
So we had a lot of great fun.
Yeah, I gotta say,
it was just fun. We got to meet a whole bunch of like great people, and we got to instead of just tweeting at them and talking to them on social media, we got to shake hands and hug.
And have actual conversations. Nice. Got to meet. Yeah, it was really cool.
We also got to meet the Anchorman Harry Potter guy. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Anchorman Harry Potter guy, whatever his name actually is. That's who he is in our hearts. The event was cool. Obviously, there was a bunch of there was some production issues that the crew ran with. I gotta say, massive shout out to Melissa Roberto and her co-host. I forgot his name. Apologies, but I
just say Dapper because he was up there too.
Yeah, they really put in the work to try and keep that thing moving. As there was technical issues galore. So
galore. There was just a giant
tech issue.
You know what? It was the Canadian Video Game Awards Alpha. That's what it was. This was
pre-release. This was. We'll go into 1.0.
Good on all the people that organized it. It was. There was parking in the building. That was phenomenal.
There was parking in the building. But yeah, they really, put in the work to make sure that event ran as well as it could have given given the circumstances. Wonderful to see, folks. It was awesome to finally meet some of the people that you and I have been talking to for years behind emails, and actually, getting to spend some time with some of the folks from PlayStation and from Xbox and stuff. It was really cool. And of course, we hung out a lot with the Tech with the Specs, Mr. Steve Vigvari, which is always a wonderful time.
And some guy named Riley Little, but
and some guy named Riley Little, whoever, he just wants Banjo-Kazooie. I don't even know what that is. I'm just kidding. But yeah, on this week's episode, we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and we have a whole lot of questions. So Court, let's keep this train rolling because we got to clean out this dusty old garage of ours because boy doozy, do we have stuff to talk about this week. If you're listening to us right now live on youtube.com/carpoolgaming, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Folks, I see you in the chat. We appreciate you being there. Please leave a comment as well. It helps us grow even bigger and connect to even more wonderful people all around the globe. Make sure you ring that bell so that when things go live, If you have extra bucks to toss our way to tip drivers, head to patreon.com/carpoolgaming, where you put in bucks in the tip jar and out comes a wonderful cornucopia of content for you to consume. And of course, if you're listening to us on your podcast service of choice, please hit us with that 5-star review. Leave us some nice words, and Court and I will read it when we remember. I promise. But Court,
There hasn't been new ones. If they're on the US, we wouldn't see them.
no, okay.
I only can see Canada. I look. It's still mine.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So
I think it's mine and Sean. I think those are the only two.
You Canadians, pull up. I know you're out there listening. All hundreds of you. We appreciate you all. But Court,
seriously, tech with the specs. We gave you our drink tickets.
Yeah, dude. Our drink tickets were yours. Just pull up, dude. But dude, we have something else that we can kind of talk about a little bit, maybe, sort of.
Or also, I was playing. We have a the show next week thing. Yeah.
The announcement go live this morning.
Oh yeah, I'm just not with it today.
I'm with you, so that's why we're okay. Because we should get hyped, Court, because there are things happening this weekend, which is.
It's Carpool Gaming Days. So you were throwing it at me. I'm like, I'm not going to be here this week. I'm like, what? I'm so confused. I'm like,
but I just
sorry. This is just this. Now we're the Canadian video. Look, we've harnessed the energy of the Canadian Video Game Awards. But it's Carpool Gaming Days this weekend.
Let me just do this real quick. I'm gonna swap us to the news and swap us back. I'm gonna change the screens around a little bit. There we go. Continue. Now
this is 2 days of Carpool Gaming Days, so you get to enjoy Mr. Sean Capri, Mr. Ryan Turford, Lachlan, Seth, Matt. I'll probably be showing up on Sunday. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But we're gonna have a lot of great announcements for everybody. We're gonna have some great community events. You guys are gonna love it. So tune in.
You are going to love it. So make sure you come hang out with us. There will be some surprises in store. So be ready. Prepare thy bodies. But Court, without further ado, we need to talk about what we've been playing. And like I said, usually I do a whole rambling on thing, but this week we have a whole bunch of stuff we need to talk about. So I'm just going to ask you, Court, what's been on your playlist?
Well, after I finished Horizon, and you can check out my review on Carpool Gaming there, I have been playing, thanks to Deep Silver, I'm still shocked that I got a code, but I've been playing Dead Island 2, and you know what? This wasn't a game that was on my radar. It wasn't a game that I even thought would be mine, because I did not like Dying Light 1 or Dying Light 2. I know that's like sacrilegious. I did like Riptide Dead Island. I did enjoy that. But I can't stop playing this game. And I don't like, there's no difficulty settings, which is usually I don't think so. There are very hard enemies. I literally pull a runaway. I literally do that. It's from a movie. I'd reference it, but you won't know it, so it doesn't make a difference.
Look at you. Getting ahead of me this time.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah,
Scooby-Doo?
Holy Grail.
Like
Monty Python. Search for the Holy Grail.
Scooby-Doo?
Nope. Okay.
Scooby-Doo.
But I'm having a lot of fun with it. I actually enjoy the combat, and I'm happy that there's a jump button. It's just good to destroy zombies with pitchforks and flaming swords, and I don't know, man. It's just stupid fun. I put up a short of, I was just in a bowling alley and I just kept sliding and knocking over the pins, and then the pins would recoil back down. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just do this again. It's so weird. And you also can get these claws that you can use, and you can almost become Wolverine in a video game. I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun for no reason whatsoever. And it's an open world linear game, so it's not that big of a deal. You're just following along. The difficulty level hasn't really ramped up on me or anything like that. When you see an enemy that's going to whoop your butt, it's going to have a skull on it, just literally run away. The traversal is actually very good, and the combat's very good. The block button actually works when you want it to. You can dodge. I'm liking the game. I'm going to finish this game. One of my most anticipated games is coming out this weekend, and I'll get to it on Sunday, but I think I'm gonna finish Dead Island first.
Okay.
I think I'm really liking this game.
Dude,
it's weird.
But sometimes
speaking of our friend, Nagachak has asked me the trophy list in this is phenomenal.
Okay. Really?
So I will say this about the game. One, thank you, developers, for actually caring, because the trophy list has trophy tracking in it. I can't stand when games come out and they have collectathons in there and they don't let you track.
Okay.
This lets you track the trophies. There's also it also lets you in the in-game HUD to actually see where you're collecting and what you need to do and how many more kills you need to do on this and that. And the trophies there's no difficulty trophies, and there's no do this crazy thing. they're pretty simple to get all these trophies. I look at the list and I'm like, this is not a hard platinum as long as you just play the game.
That's good, dude. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Sometimes you just need those mindless. I'm just gonna beat some people up, and I'm gonna do the thing, mess with some zombies. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. I have to ask, any DualSense implementation, anything on that front that's hopping out at you?
Yeah, it does have the DualSense implementations. Like it does have the vibrations and so on and so forth, but it's not like there's no trigger, there's no
Okay.
trigger sensitivity. I find if the DualSense that the game doesn't have trigger sensitivity, it's almost like that's the cool feature
Mm-hmm.
to me. But yeah, you can use the triggers, but there's no sensitivity on it. There's no
Okay.
nothing.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm happy you have something to tide you over until Jedi Survivor hits later this week, which
Yeah,
I know how much you're looking forward to.
the 28th, so in 4 days. Like,
4 days.
wow.
4 days. World launch.
And I will giving an impressions and a review for us over at Car. I'm playing the living daylights out of that game when it comes out, but
I don't
you're
doubt
just
that for a
gonna have to
second.
wait it out because it's coming out. I will say this one more thing about Dead Island 2.
One more thing.
This was the game that had the $98 price tag.
Yep.
I don't like that.
No.
I don't know why that happened, and that's not the only game people ever was going to Dead Island 2. Go into the PlayStation Store right now. I don't know what's going on, but in Canada here, games are getting very expensive real quick.
Well, we'll talk about that in just a little bit because PlayStation seems to be jacking up some prices in some more territories. But as for myself, I've been playing through Burning Shores, still relatively early on in it, just because life's been busy. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I think, Court, when you kind of mentioned when we spoke about it last week about how good the dialogue feels, and especially the relationship between Seika and Aloy, it's great. Like that's the kind of banter that I think I've been missing. The way that they bounce off each other is really, really good. It took me a little bit to get back into the swing of things. I went and got one of the Sunwings, took off on it, forgot how to fly, accidentally jumped off, could not remember how to use my zip line to get back up there. So a bit of a learning curve to get back into it, but like the game continues to be absolutely gorgeous. It runs great. What I will say is I've had a lot of poppin'. I'm playing on the balanced mode, so not the performance, not the quality, but that one in between.
I did not do that.
There's a lot of pop in, and I'm not even talking about like as you kind of approach stuff, like the scene will load in, and then all of a sudden like a couple more textures will pop
Does your
in.
TV support VRR?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does it support 120 frames?
dude, we have the same
have an
TV.
LG. Yeah. So
Yeah,
because from even in my review, I went on and checked out the full specs, and because it doesn't tell us in the game. That is the frustrating part of this game. It doesn't really tell us what balanced performance, and it doesn't tell you what the modes are. But I found out if you don't have VRR 120 frames, don't put on balance, I would almost say take it off balance mode.
okay.
Because it sounds like Digital Foundry was like not a big fan of it either.
Okay.
It sounds like you either go for graphics or you go for frame rate. And with the combat in that game, I'd say go as much frame rate as possible. You still get 1800p. It's not that bad.
No, I mean the game looks fantastic. So maybe I'll drop it then because on
And
balance mode
Gamer Graham, there is no corruptors. Stop asking.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like the game itself is really cool. I'm really enjoying it. Like I'm having a lot of fun being back in that world. But I also remember your comment from last week that this should have been. I wish this was sooner, not a year after.
Yes.
Because coming back to it and trying to remember which bows was I using, what all these ammo types do, which dinos are weak to what. Like this.
How to use the grapple. You had to Google it.
Yeah.
You had to Google it.
I know. I figured it out by accident, and then the next loading screen that I went through said, if you want to use the grapple, make sure you hit X twice. I was like, oh my god, here we go. But the game itself is really cool. Excited to keep going through it. I'm curious to see how the kind of story pans out, especially as we continue our way through what is, basically Hollywood. But yeah, let's get this show rolling, my friend, because we have a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about, including we're going to start with a fun story about Enhance's Humanity because we are getting it day one on PlayStation Plus. This is coming from VGC, written by Tom Ivan. Enhance's Humanity has been dated and it's coming to PlayStation Plus on day one. It will be available as part of May's PS Plus game catalog lineup. The title will be released on PS5 and PS4 and PC via Steam with optional VR support on all platforms. It is also going to be there as day one as part of PlayStation Plus game catalog May lineup. I believe they did confirm, or it seems like it's going to be in the extra tier. So anybody who's looking forward to Humanity, which we got shown for the first time at the last State of Play, it's coming day and date, Court. This is what we've been asking for. You and I keep asking for more games to hit the service day and date. How do we feel about Humanity coming to the service day one?
This 100% isn't a game for me,
Nope.
but I'll try it out because it's on the service. But I'm happy. I just want like the indie games or the not the AAA blockbusters. If PlayStation is putting money behind it and helping support it, that game should be on the platform day and date. I don't see why it isn't. I know Xbox does this a lot, and I really hope that this pattern that we're seeing, because it's happened month after month, just continues to be the new norm. That's all.
I'm with you. Like, again, this was a game that I was not going to play at all, but now that it's hitting Plus, why not? Especially with the optional VR support. Like, I am curious to hop in and take a look. And this could be one of those games that you and I actually end up liking just because it's on the service. Because you and I, neither one of us would have played this without it. And even if it isn't,
you and I liking the same game.
no, never mind. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm excited that this is happening. I'm stoked that they're doing this and that they're communicating it this early instead of the day it comes out. Let's get over to our next story because, as Court alluded to earlier, PlayStation has significantly increased Steam game prices in some countries. This is once again coming from VGC, written by Tom Ivan. Canada and Japan among the countries to see rises, while Argentina is hit particularly hard. As first spotted by Reset Era chairman Chuck, the prices of Sackboy: A Big Adventure and Returnal have been increased this week in countries including Argentina, Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Japan, and South Korea. VGC has verified these price rises using SteamDB, found that other PlayStation titles, including God of War and Spider-Man Remastered, have received similar price increases. The prices vary country by country and title by title, but in Canada, the price of all 4 games has been up by $10, representing 14.5% to 17% increases based on their starting price. In Japan, they have risen approximately between 29% and 32.5%. But Court, it seems like PlayStation games on Steam have gotten a little more expensive. What are your thoughts and feelings? You're seeing it on PlayStation?
So yeah, perfect example. So I had to hop into the store real quick and just check it out. Final Fantasy 16 Standard Edition, $93.49.
No way, dude.
Yep. So if you would have pre-ordered it before, I believe it was $89.99. So I have a funny feeling the new, because that's what Diablo's at. Diablo is $89.99, the standard edition. Games are getting way more expensive, and my biggest issue I'm having with this is,
yeah, $93.49. Dang, sorry, go on.
When we were, it wasn't like that a couple days ago. So like some of these are happening. You got to go into the coming soon and look at the games. If you remember, Callisto Protocol was the first one to do this.
Yeah,
it was at that $90 range. So like I said, with Dead Island 2, I think it's going to be the norm. I don't think they're the outlier that is doing this. With PlayStation doing it on Steam, that's their prerogative, but I have my issues with digital games being that much money, considering I remember back in the day, we used to get those, Game Pros and all those magazines, and like the guys over at EB Games would tell us the only reason games cost this much is because of the marketing and the physicality to make the game and all that. Well, you're not physically making the game anymore.
But do you know what the problem is, right? It's the agreements.
We pay it.
That we pay it, and it's the agreements that they have with a lot of these still brick and mortar places, right? I'm sure it's in their contracts that they are not allowed to drop digital prices past a certain point, if at all, because then guess what? The incentive means that you're going to go onto the PlayStation Store and buy Final Fantasy 16 at, let's say, $79.99, while the Source or GameStop has it for $89 or now $93. Possibly.
Yeah, but I think those mom and pop shops are gonna if they cut their margin, they could sell more games.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't buy physical games, but because it's just too darn far to get to a store that sells them. But I don't know, man. I don't like this. I feel one of my other issues with it is it's only in Canada and everywhere else, but they're not doing it in the United States. And it's just like, F you, man. That's not cool.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. Like, this sucks, regardless of what, of why they're doing it. I can't see a justifiable reason. We just got hit with the price increase. Like, we literally just went up to $89.99 with the the PS5 generation. Now Nintendo, for whatever reason, says, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, that's worth that much too, just because. And I feel like we're going to start seeing, I think you're right. Like, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more titles have varying prices, because now you can see 3 different price points across Diablo, which you mentioned is $89.99. Final Fantasy 16 at $93.49, and Dead Island 2 was what, $98.99?
Yeah, and Star Wars is $89.99. They have a deluxe edition. Sure, but even myself, as a huge fan of Star Wars, I'm getting the standard edition because I don't see cosmetics as a something they're giving to you, I'll never to this day ever think that that's worth it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like the deluxe editions and all that stuff, whatever, that's been around for a while. That's not going anywhere. But this price disparity amongst random games and random titles, I feel like. Let me ask you this then, because we've already seen, like you mentioned, States has not gotten hit with any of this for whatever reason. Steam stuff has gone up. Court, when are we going to see the first $99 just the
This
base
fall,
game?
100%.
You think
this
so?
fall. Well, yeah. We're gonna EA or 2K is going to get
Yeah.
us, and then it's going to be the norm. It's like I said, this is everybody started dunking on Den Island when they came out, and I was just like, did everybody forget Callisto Protocol already did this? And it's just, it is what it is. But I would say this fall we'll definitely get hit with from 2K or EA. They're going to hit us hard. They're going to come in hot with that $99.99.
The funny thing is, you're probably spot on, and the thing is that's going to happen too is that the games are going to come out, they're not going to sell as well because of a higher price point. Because again, games are expensive; it's an expensive hobby, and they're going to be like, "Why are these games not selling? Why are we so perplexed?" I guess this single player game that we put out that didn't sell as well as we wanted it to, cough for spoken cough. They're going to be like, "Oh, it's because of the." It's because nobody liked it, from not even thinking about the fact that the price is a massive factor for a lot of people, as it is, as it normally is. And they're just going to keep jacking prices up. So I think you're right. We're probably going to see our first $100 title by the end of this year. And once that dam breaks, Court, is going to be a flood.
Yeah, it's going to change the way some people game. The free-to-play model will probably prevail. And unfortunately, it is what it is. It's just business, right?
Yep. It is what it is. But let us know your thoughts about PlayStation's, Steam prices specifically. Also, Greg Miller has been on a tear on Twitter with all this stuff lately. If you haven't seen the absolute heel that he's been regarding the PlayStation PC pricing, it's quite entertaining. So go check that out if you haven't already.
He's also not wrong.
It's funny. Let's hop over to our second last story. This is all Court all day, coming from Video Gamer, written by Ben Borthwick. The Division Day unveils Descent mode and new Heartland and Resurgence gameplay. Ubisoft has announced Ubisoft has used its annual The Division Day to give fans an insight into the future plans for the future of the Division series, and there's plenty in store for those who love the Tom Clancy shooter. They got a preview of today's Division Day presentation. Kick off with a year 5 of content for the Division 2, including Broken Wings, which will include 4 full seasons with a bunch of new features, including an entirely new game mode, which is Descent mode. Have it given agents the opportunity to take on a new roguelite challenge set in a simulation of an underground bunker. They went on to also talk about the Division Heartland and Resurgence. Court, tell me about all of this. You are the Division guru.
I literally in the notes broke it all down for you and gave you point forms so you didn't have to actually, but it doesn't matter.
There's a new mode in the Division 2 which is called Descent, which is a roguelike mode.
Yes, and I'm not a big fan of it. I am not a fan of roguelite. They already did this with Far Cry. I'm so weirded out by it. It didn't do well in their DLC on Far Cry, but I guess they've already committed to it. I think for someone like myself who was a huge fan of the Division 2, year 5, I'm hoping is the last year, but I also get new story DLC. It looks like they showed the Brooklyn Bridge, and they did mention that you had to have the New York DLC already purchased. So for me, the Warlords of New York, it was called. I'm excited to jump back in. I'm excited that they keep doing content for this game. They're giving me a reason to go back and play it. I know Bobby Miller and we played it together. Pez on 3 Dads, we played this game a lot. I put a ton of hours, more than MLB The Show, into this game. But I'm hoping this is the last season. But the one thing that I thought was awesome to see was Heartland. That was the big thing I was waiting for, because that is the free-to-play PvP, PvE. I'm not a big PvP person, but the PvE aspect I'm a huge fan of. I'd rather just go kill robots. I don't need to get, beat up by some like 14-year-old telling me, making fun of my mom. I don't need that. But I was very intrigued by it. They didn't really show us much. They showed us some, but not much. They said that there was a different type of virus, but they didn't tell us why. But Heartland looks awesome. If you want, anybody can go on the webpage, on the Ubisoft webpage, and sign up for the beta, and then they'll send it to us finally. I don't know when. I think I signed up for this beta like a year ago. But every time it comes out, it's sign up for the beta. I go in, I'm like, no, I've already done it. Yeah, okay. All right, fair enough. But I'm hoping we get to see it soon, because it looks like fun. And once again, I think free-to-play is this new model. But I'm very curious to see the gotchas because every game that's free to play, let's see how they get you.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not the exotic weapons. If it is, my time with Heartland might not be a very long one. But
Really?
well, yeah, when I play the Division 2, I figure out the meta and I can figure out how to grind to get the
To do the thing.
specific weapons. If they're gonna charge me to get those specific weapons, which I'm hoping they're not, I'm not saying they will, but a lot of games do that,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll just be out. Anytime a game does that kind of mechanic in it, I'm not gonna play it.
Okay, fair. So let me ask you this then, because obviously there's a lot to look forward to here. When do you think we do get the Division 3 then? And what city would you like it to be set in? Let me ask you that before we round out Division talk.
Well, I was a big fan of New York, so I would want something like Chicago or Boston so I could get sort of the same feel, and I want them to go back to the winter.
Okay.
We got sort of like the spring for Washington DC, and it
Mhm.
just didn't feel the same. I like the aspect of the winter and the coldness. I want them to go to some. Give me Chicago. Give me Boston, or actually give me Las Vegas. I don't know what it is about
Oh,
shooters in the Las Vegas world. It always seems like to be very cool, and it would be nice and bright. So that would be kind of neat and different. But I don't think we're getting the Division 3, to be totally honest, for like another 2-3 years. But
hmm.
we'll see.
We'll see, and we'll keep you posted on that when it happens. Let's talk about one last story court here before we get into listener questions, because coming from BGC, written by Jordan Midler, Sony has acquired Firewalk Studios, the 20th member of the PlayStation Studios family. The developer is working on an original multiplayer IP. The developer, which is part of the independent game company Probably Monsters, was already working in partnership with PlayStation on a yet unannounced multiplayer IP and will be fully acquired by the console maker. The studio shares our passion for creating inspiring worlds grounded in exceptional gameplay, and we want to continue to invest in their mission, PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst said in a statement. We're excited for Firewalk to bring their technical and creative expertise to PlayStation Studios to help grow our live service operations and deliver something truly special for gamers. So Court, I don't think this is a big surprise. We already knew that they were, they were in partnership. These are ex-COD devs. I'm sure we're getting a first-person shooter out of them. My biggest question for you is, when are we actually going to see this thing? Because we got an announcement a few years ago that they were working on something. Sony must be happy with them enough to bring them into the PlayStation Studios fold. What is this, and when are we going to see it?
Well, according to, I found this like graphic that someone did on Twitter that showed like what all the studios are doing, and it'll lead to a question that's coming later. But it says Firework is working on a new multiplayer IP. From what everybody is saying, Sony liked it so much that they purchased the studio. So to me, I would say they're closer than far.
Okay.
Maybe we get to see it in the rumored PlayStation Showcase, May, June, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. They've got so many multiplayers on the go, right? There's the rumor that there's 4 of them on the go. So,
Well, they've talked about launching 12 of them by 2025 or 2026 that are
and it's saying this is an original, so it's not, another PlayStation title that
Mhm.
they've been working on. We're not getting another Ghost or something that we've always wanted,
Yeah.
but we'll see what it is. With any multiplayer only type game, PlayStation could put out 4 of them and maybe one of them will be successful, right?
So, do you think that this means that this is one of those free to play multiplayer? We
Yes,
know it's multiplayer. You think it's free to play?
100%.
Okay. Let me ask you this then: is this a battle royale? That's what I want to know, because I saw we got a lot of
You
battle
know what? It
royales.
probably is, because if that was the hotness and we haven't seen everybody, we all called it when Fortnite went huge. We're all like, okay, everybody's going to work on a battle royale. Well, we haven't really seen like the onslaught of them yet. I have a funny feeling the next 2 years we're going to see the onslaught of battle royales, just like we're seeing all these roguelikes right now that everybody's like, no, we're good. We only liked it at that time, but we'll see. I have a funny feeling. Yes, this will be a battle royale.
Okay, I'm with you. I think the free to play is probably a lock. I'm hoping we get something more along the lines of a Battlefield or a Call of Duty, not like Warzone. I want a more classic multiplayer shooter out of
Mhm.
this than I do about. I wouldn't mind there being a battle royale mode, or if they tweak the formula a little bit from what the normal battle royale stuff is. Just because, like you mentioned, we have a lot of them, and we're probably only going to get more over the next few years. But we'll. I hope. I think you're right. I think we probably will see some tease of this, if not maybe a weekend beta or something possibly out of that showcase. I do think they need to start talking about it, and I do think
Yeah, it
that
won't
this,
be no matter what. I
yeah,
ain't in.
I'm excited to see it. PlayStation desperately needs a really awesome first person shooter that's their own. So like I really want this to be that thing. So I want a beta. I want us to see what this is, and I think it is probably relatively imminent for when that announcement will finally happen. But Court, we have a whole bunch of listener questions this week. So
Yeah,
without further
seriously, that's why
ado,
we rushed through.
yeah, we blitzed through the
Jesus.
news, so we have time for all of your wonderful questions. Because if you want your question asked on the show, there's a Twitter post that goes live each and every week. Interact on that, or head over to our free Discord, free to join. It's in the show notes. Hop in
Hey,
and hang out with us.
interesting. So Shuhei Yoshida, just because we just talked about it, just put out a quote saying the future dominated by games of service would be boring.
Go Shuhei.
Praise Shuhei.
Praise Shuhei indeed. And obviously, we didn't talk about this, but very quick, Sony seems to be pretty happy with Guerrilla. They brought Herman Helst up, and now they just brought somebody else up from that studio to lead into PlayStation management. So
Yes.
they seem to be doing the thing over there.
Yes.
But we have some questions. Let's start with Black Wyver, who asks, question for the show, bit of a lengthy one. The Last of Us withdrawals are kicking at full strength, and I can't help but think about The Last of Us Part 3. If the game had optional co-op features, would you all prefer it was? And he gives us 3 options to break it down here, okay? It's a choice. Do you want a continuation from Part 2, focusing on Abby and Lev's story? Do you want a prequel to Part 1, focusing on Joel and Tommy? Or C, none of the above, and pivot only to continuing Ellie's story with no co-op? Black Wyver says that he would love a combo, or A and B if he had to choose. He'd go with A so that we can continue on with Abby and Lev. So do you want Abby and Lev? Do you want Joel and Tommy? Or do you want none of the above and we keep going with Ellie?
I would love Joel and Tommy, but I don't know much you could do considering a lot of the Joel and Tommy wouldn't have the virus. Flashbacks I'm okay with, but I want to continue the story.
Mhm.
To me, there is a story there and just go finish it. Like I look at what we got at the end of 2 and I'm like, there's more there. Like
So
let's
do you
go
want
find more.
Abby and Lev, or do you want Ellie?
I want Ellie.
You want
all day
Ellie?
long.
Okay. I kind of I want
I know what you want.
I want Abby
Yeah.
and Lev to continue.
Shocker.
I want Ellie to show up, but I feel like her story had a pretty, like, I wouldn't say definitive, because like you're right, there is always room to keep going, but like she's been through enough. I kind of want her to just settle down and find peace somewhere and let Abby and Lev continue on what is essentially these stories. And it's a cool inversion of Joel and Ellie. Have Ellie show up in the game. I think that'd be awesome. But for me, if we were going to do co-op, if we were going to kind of continue on, I want a continuation of Abby and Lev's story. I would not be upset if we got more Ellie. Similarly, I think focusing on Joel and Tommy, we would have infected not as much. There would be a lot of just the runners, on top of the fact that, like, I'm not really that curious about how they survived leading up to The Last of Us Part 1. I feel like Joel's story, we got a pretty...
Well, I would think it's we now know from the TV show, it was brutal.
It was brutal.
So if they did survive, it would be the most gory Last of Us game ever.
That, and like, we also know that Joel and Tommy survived. There's no we know that they're not in any danger, right?
Yes, but we could make it DLC.
Yeah, I can see it. But yeah, great question, Black Wyver. I like I said, Court wants more Ellie. I want more Abby, but would not be upset by more Ellie. Nagachaka asks, "What's your favorite trophy that you've earned this past week?" I genuinely don't think
I literally was like, okay, I saw the question. I love you, Nagachaka. I was like, all right, I'm just going to pull up my trophy list and see what I've earned this past week.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
So I'm gonna go to Dead Island 2 because it's definitely, well, you know what? The limbs one. Okay, so there's a trophy in Dead Island 2 that was, it was just, this sounds terrible, but it's called Break a Leg. You maim 100 limbs. It's actually really fun to just get like a sword or some sort of weapon that has got a slicing motion and like pick which limb you want to cut, because you can cut a hand off, you can cut the leg off, you can cut it off at the knees, you can slice a person's head off.
As one does.
Kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie, and it wasn't that hard to get, and you get the tracker on it. So
there you go. I apparently did not get any trophies this week as of yet. I just got back from San Fran and things have been busy. So, what I'm going to call out is one of the latest trophies I got a couple weeks ago from What the Bat. It's called the Great Chicken Escape. It's when I accidentally knocked, I think it was an egg, into an oven, and the oven popped open and a chicken went flying out and flew out the window. I was incredibly amused by that. It caught me off guard. It was just a fun little Easter egg thing, but the Great Chicken Escape is going to be my answer for Nagachaka's wonderful question. Drellesh asks, question for the show. The fact that PlayStation is taking over a company with which it had relationships since 2018 and is developing a AAA multiplayer title makes me believe that the Bungie veterans must have something special in place exceeding Sony's expectations. What are your thoughts? Will this be the multiplayer game that PlayStation needs? So we kind of talked about our thoughts already, but I like his aspect of the question. Is this the multiplayer game that PlayStation will need? Is this going to success?
I hope so. That's the pedigree is there, but like I said, if it's free to play, I'm already out before it even starts.
So what would you need to be able to buy in on that? Like let's say it is free to play. Let's say the game looks awesome. What would you need to
It
see
needs a
from that
story.
trailer?
It needs a story for
Okay.
me. Like that's my biggest issue with a lot of these free to play games, that there just is no story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, all right, I'm just grinding for the sake of grinding.
So you would need some sort of campaign-ish thing in some way.
Or some sort of lore. Give me something in this world, not just, hey, go shoot these guys.
Okay, would like Overwatch style be enough? Do you know what I mean?
I don't like Overwatch, not at all, not even a little bit.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, I don't know, Drellesh. I think that this really does stand the chance. The pedigree is there, like Court said. They have XCOD, they have Bungie. They have a lot of incredible people that are working on this. So I'm kind of curious to see as to like what Bungie itself is working on. I don't know. Their Bungie's weird because they're not technically PlayStation Studios. They're their own entity. So like they're like this weird in between. We'll see what comes next from them, but we'll find out. Ash_Trobot asks, are too many games being released in 2023? Sounds like a strange question, but it feels like we can't catch our breath with so many quality titles being released in such a short space of time. So like this year, what we've had Dead Space, we've had Burning Shores, we've had Resident Evil 4, we've had MLB The Show. What else has hit this year that I'm blanking out on?
That's huge.
That's big enough.
I've only played. I look at the list. Like there's PlayStation VR, and we played a ton of that game.
PlayStation
like,
VR, like a Dragon.
I haven't played that many different games. Well, there's Hogwarts. That's huge.
That's a big one. And like
That's
we
a
have
very big one.
Jedi Survivor. We have Tears of the Kingdom. We have.
But see I think it's all relevant to what you're willing, what you want to play. Yes, there's been a top. There's Chia. There has been a ton of games, but I think there's been also a ton of variety of games.
Mm-hmm. I do think that there has been quite a bit, and I feel like this back half of the year, while it seems relatively empty right now, I do think we're gonna have quite a few hits coming. I mean, Starfield and Spider-Man 2 are going to take the air out of the room all by themselves. Diablo, I'm sure, is going to have something hit by the end of the year for Diablo 4 in terms of content. I feel like a lot of this was because, again, the last couple of years weren't as busy. So we're seeing a lot of the things that were supposed to come out before come out around the same time now. And it's just, we're in a deluge of games. There's so much to play.
Technically, Sony's only got Final Fantasy and Spider-Man left, technically, as far as we know. So that's not much.
Yeah, but then, like, again, do we get a free-to-play? Do we get factions? Do we get Metal Gear Solid?
If we don't get factions, I think we're going to riot. I think that's just, at this point, it's just like, give us the game, okay? Put it in beta, put it in alpha, whatever you want to do.
Exactly. Just give it to us.
You might value this thing and just put it out there, and we can't get mad at you.
No. And then it is what it is. And then we're going to be able to build everything up. And as long as our progress carries over to 1.0, we'll be fine. But there are a lot of games coming out, Ash. You are 100% not wrong. And as we've already talked about, with game prices seemingly going up, it's going to come down to, choosing what you want to play when you want to play it. Make use of your libraries if they have video games around you, because I know ours do. So if you don't mind waiting a little bit to play the new releases, that's also a great way for you to hop in and check games out, for free. So make sure you check your local resources to see what you can do. Stingray X asks, what's your favorite piece of PlayStation apparel? I really like this Uniqlo line. Obviously, you and I both synced up again without talking about it.
That's a bit weird.
Yeah, we're going to keep doing it. It's going to happen. I really like the Uniqlo line. A lot of the PlayStation stuff, at least for me, is so expensive to get here in Canada because there's no PlayStation Direct here. So everything that looks awesome from the States, a lot of like The Last of Us clothes, there's so much cool stuff that's there that is just an exorbitant amount for us to pay to bring over. So a lot of what we get is kind of like your Uniqlo lines, or you get stuff like, the secondary.
I bought a pair of socks from H&M that has the PS1 on it. Yeah, that I really like. But yes, for us to get PlayStation gear in Canada, it's spicy. They need to do what Xbox does. Xbox has the Xbox Gear Store, and they have one for Canada, and it's not craziness prices, and the shipping isn't crazy either. Yeah. That's the other thing. A lot of times when you go into these stores, they're like, oh, no, we have Canada on there. I'm like, okay, cool. And then you go to the shipping, you're like, yeah, it's $35 a month.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of stuff that we just haven't been able to have access to, but there's a lot of really cool PlayStation stuff. Uniqlo stuff is my current favorite. Darth Stridius asks, people do not want to remote play a handheld, but a handheld that can play games natively, but how would that not hinder games on the PS5, Court?
I just want another. I like the Vita.
Me too.
I'm also not the market. I don't, even when I travel, I don't play on handheld. Like I very rarely do. And if I do, I'm just gonna play the Switch. When I play my big PlayStation games, I want them on a OLED with 120 frames. I want everything I can get on them. I don't want it on a tiny screen. So I am just not the market for it.
Fair.
Period.
I do think it's a good question. For me, I wouldn't really want a PlayStation handheld that is able to play their newest stuff right away. Like again, I would want a Vita 2 that has more games specifically developed for it than I would want the PS5 but
like
smaller in my hand. Exactly. So like, which we obviously know they're not going to do. They have VR2 that they're focusing on, hopefully, knock on wood. And we have like the PS5 obviously. So I wouldn't want to be able to play Spider-Man 2 natively on this, Vita successor. I want stuff that lives and breathes in its own space rather than them just trying to make the PS5 but smaller. And again, remote play for me, my experiences have been very, very hit or miss on PlayStation end. Like I will say that Xbox has their stuff much more together there. So I'm hoping that PlayStation figures that out, because if they're going to want to make this thing awesome, they need to work that out and quick. Robbie Bobby Miller asks, have you ever thought about getting a video game tattoo or any tattoo? Do you think having two TVs in the living room? Okay, so let's start there. Do you want a video game tattoo, Court? Have you thought about it?
Nope. I am not any tattoo guy.
Okay.
No tattoos.
Yeah.
0 tattoos.
I love the discussion that this generated on online, because it was cool. I just got my first tattoo a few months ago, and now I'm chomping at the bit to get the next one.
To each their own. Like for me, I am not like I get to the people and be like, you shouldn't get a tattoo and try and tell other people how to live their life. I just know that's just not for me. I have way too many freckles all over my body. I don't need to add to it.
Did you ever think about getting a tattoo that connects all of them, like a giant connect the dots?
No. If I was to be totally honest with you, if I were to get anything to do with a tattoo, it would have something to do with my daughter. And as of right now, no reason to ink anything on my body.
Fair enough. I just can't wait for the day where you get a lip tattoo that says Matt. But as for me, I thought about it. Like, we just met one of our friends from over at PlayStation Canada at the Video Game Awards, and he had like a Persona tattoo and like a Spider-Man tattoo.
Seriously,
and stuff. And I was like, these are incredible. I've thought about it a lot. I've thought about like the, Ellie's knife from The Last of Us, even like the Firefly sign, like something from Spider-Man, something from Persona. It's just for me, I want to just make sure I land on the right thing. But I've 100%.
Can we get you a lower back tatty of like Spider-Man and I just say web it here?
Yeah, but it has to be Spider-Man's hands like this on each side of my lower back.
That makes sense.
His next question is, do you think having two TVs in the living room may cause you to lose interest in trying new games? I feel like I'm losing the drive to start a new game, and I keep falling back on games like MLB The Show. So I'm guessing this means that he has something going on this TV. He's watching a show or a movie or something, and then he has a game going here.
So he's watching sports.
He's watching sports.
Yeah, it's probably Bob Miller. He's watching sports, or my guess. He's watching the Baltimore Orioles, who are actually having a phenomenal season this year. Well done, Robbie. I don't disagree with him. I find it distracting to have two TVs in the same room. So like here where we're sitting right now, I have two monitors and a TV here. I have tried to do two things at once. I don't know how your generation does it, Matt. I can't do that. And I think Robbie Miller's having the same issue with me. I can't do two things. I can't watch, like when I'm doing a podcast and the hockey game's on, I can't watch the hockey game and do the podcast. Like Sean Capri is right. I don't know how people do it. It's impossible. I don't get it.
I love multitasking. I do prefer it, but for me, it depends on the game. Something like MLB The Show is a great example of a game that you can grind and mindlessly play. I would not be watching a new show.
It'd be very hard to do that because you got to do the timing of the pitches and all that and see the pitch coming.
For me, I think it's more like the story stuff. If I need to pay attention to the story, then that's another thing. Like I will regularly play on my Steam Deck while we're watching something on TV, but that's like something if I'm grinding in an RPG or if I'm doing something that I don't need to be inherently locked in for. I think the problem is that, like, again, if you're trying to buy into a story, you need to be paying attention regardless of how many TVs. You're gonna have 8 of them, but if you're not locked in on the story, that's another thing entirely. So I think it just does become a bit of like an active decision at that point, Robbie. Like you have to kind of want to engage in it.
Or if your brain could do it, like Ryan always says, "Oh, that's the perfect podcast game," and I'm like, "What do you like?
Yes.
How are you listening and doing other things while trying to concentrate on the game?"
Yeah.
Like, I need the music. I can't play on silent. I need everything.
No, see, I have no problem doing that. But again, if I'm trying to zone in on the story, that's a different thing entirely. So it depends. But I can see why having a second TV would probably take away from it, because you're like, I want to engage in this, but I just want to have something running here. Riley Little asks, which unannounced game do you think PlayStation could still announce for this year?
Should we have seen this coming, Matt?
Should we have
This
seen
question of all questions. Remember dinner?
I do.
I was just literally all of dinner. This is the conversation.
Mhm.
So we were having a conversation. So I want to give a little backstory. We were having a conversation of what is coming this year for PlayStation, because we know Spider-Man's coming in September. They didn't deny it. So Spider-Man's coming in December. So Matt, I ask you, and then I'll give my crazy thoughts. What do you think we're going to get? Like, right now we have Final Fantasy and Spider-Man. What else is coming?
I really do think that we have two more things that we don't know about. I do think factions, to some extent, whether that's a 1.0, whether that's early access, whether that's a running, a running beta, I do think factions has to be relatively imminent in my book. The other thing is that I'm thinking is that I think that'll kind of be their live service. I think Fire Sprite, there's a potential that we get something from them this year, like we just talked about with the acquisition. Maybe we get something there.
Your big game, like,
but
I want the big game.
I think the big game, I don't know exactly. For me, there's a couple things that it could be. None of them are going to be Sony first party, though. I don't think we're going to get another first party game. I think we may get that rumored Metal Gear Solid 3 remake if that's real.
I'm thinking that too.
We may get that Persona 3 remake if that's real. We may get.
That's not big enough game.
I
know it is for you, but it's not. It's not a fall game.
Fair, and I do think that, like, if whatever Bluepoint is working on is also ready, like, I do think there's some potential there. I think Bend, I don't know if they turn something around right after Spider-Man 2. I think
Bluepoint be the Uncharted game. We know it's real. Like, sorry, I shouldn't say we know it's real, but they put it in the commercial. I don't care what anybody says.
I'm with you.
It's in that.
I'm with you entirely.
In that commercial.
I think
in the commercial.
I still think it's more likely that's San Diego with their second team.
So I'm looking at the list. I pulled up that this is literally the reason I pulled up that thing. So we got okay. So we'll go Asobi, which is you and I, one of our favorite studios.
That might be.
They're currently working on. We'll go through the list here. Current project is the 3D action game. Second project is a mobile game external. I'm really hoping the 3D action game is our VR / it's the game that you and I have in Dream, but that's not your big game. So let's just go to the big studios here. So Sucker Punch, their current project is a narrative. Okay. Their current project is Ghost of Tsushima 2, but that ain't coming this year. Let's be honest. We're getting a trailer. I would think a trailer or some sort of teaser on it this year, but we ain't getting that game. Sony Santa Monica, we know we don't get a new game anytime soon, but their current project is a new AAA IP, which we kind of all like got hinted at of what it's going to be. And the second project, unannounced title. So then we have Insomniac. We know it's Spider-Man 2. We know the other one's Wolverine. We ain't getting anything from them.
No.
Guerrilla is the one that I think we might get that sneaky. You have now played Burning Shores. What do they keep throwing in our face every 2 seconds in that game? There's a certain game. They were showing Killzone Shadowfall like it's nobody's business in that game. The guns, the airplanes, the trucks from that. Everything in the world of Burning Shores when they're in Hollywood, every truck, military, everything is Killzone. So that's my only, like, red herring. I'm like, could it be Killzone?
The thing is, that would mean
that Bluepoint be working on Killzone?
Bluepoint.
Sony Bend is working on a new AAA IP, includes multiplayer. So that to me could be Killzone then.
It could be Bend. It could be Bend because it's been long enough since Days Gone. The only reason why I'm a little bit hesitant about Guerrilla is because that would mean that within the span of 2 years, we got Forbidden West, Burning Shores, and then potentially a new IP or a third game from them.
But it says that they're working. So right now, this current project is Horizon unannounced multiplayer title. We already know what that is. Yeah. We've seen that cartoon thing that. And then we have second project is Horizon single player title. So. Okay.
Horizon 3.
So it can't be Guerrilla. Guerrilla ain't work, but that's what I'm saying. Guerrilla ain't working on anything that we're gonna get eminently. The studios that we could get something eminently. Okay, so we have Naughty Dog. I still think we're gonna get an announcement at some point this year of, hey, it's either gonna be at the Game Awards or it's gonna be at their May thing where they're like, the beta's live, go play factions.
I really think
that's what they're gonna do.
I think the potential there could even be what we might get even this fall because it would be an easy win for them and it would sell. Here's the Last of Us collection. Here's part 1. Here's part 2 that's been glowed up to some extent for PS5.
Sure, but
And
that's not that's a remake. That's not a new game,
but
dude.
again, if they loop in that you get, Factions comes out the same day and you get XYZ for buying the collection.
I think it's gotta be bigger. You're telling me right now that they're putting out Spider-Man in September, and your next big game is gonna be a remake of Last of Us?
100% it could be. Spider-Man is going to be a juggernaut for them to drop like
I get it.
to do something massive first party 2 months later. I think they'd probably go for a soft win rather than another smack out of the park.
I think we're both thinking that whatever Blue Point's working on, we're probably getting it this year, correct?
Possibly. Yeah, I think them and Bend are the two most probable.
So, my question to you is, who is doing the Uncharted game that we know? Like, there's way too many people talking about it. They put it in the commercial. Is it Blue Point, Ben, or is it a studio? Like, I look at the other studios here, and I'm
San Diego, dude.
Well, okay. The other one is Fire Sprite, who's doing a AAA narrative
which we
adventure.
Just talked about. Yeah, we just talked about Fire Sprite. That's the shooter studio.
Yeah, I know. But see, Bend new IP includes multiplayer. I still think Ben, for some reason, is doing Killzone. I don't know why. I think it's Ben. But I'm like, I think it's Blue Point that's doing the Uncharted, but I could be totally wrong here.
I don't know. I feel like Blue Point hasn't really. I mean, possibly. I don't know. San Diego's the studio that does Emily the Show. No, they have a second team that.
Sony San Diego Studios is doing, yeah. So they're doing. So guess what? I totally glossed over them. Currently working on a AAA third-person action game.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I think it's them. I think that their second team is working on that.
I think you're right. You're right. Once I see it, and also this person in their graphic put it right beside Naughty Dog. I think it's just meant to be.
Yeah.
So then Blue Point is our Metal Gear?
Could be. I think that makes a lot of sense.
And then if Metal Gear is our game, that's a huge game for the holiday.
That's a massive game. That's a massive game. If they drop their from the ground up remake of MGS3,
and then next year is our Uncharted our game.
Yep.
That makes sense.
One of them. Yep. All right, let's keep this train rolling. Look at us.
We should just run Sony.
I know. Sony, call us. Steve at PKM Master Quench asks, if you had to eat one PlayStation game in a cake and the game is ground up, what game would it be and why? See, for me, I think
it's got to be Ratchet and Clank, because at least they get some meat on the bones there, some protein.
I know
it sounds disgusting,
you're just grinding up the game, right?
Yeah, but there's a cat in there. This is some sort of cat.
Well, at least Ratchet and Clank would also give you a ton of variety. There probably would be a lot of different flavors in there from all the different weapons and stuff. I think I wouldn't want to eat Spider-Man because it would be too sticky. I feel like that would be a sticky endeavor and gooey.
Spiders.
Nah. You know what? The Last Guardian. That bird dog
bird dog. You sick son of a gun.
That bird dog probably tastes not bad.
Ooh, Final Fantasy. We get some chocobos.
Or ramen, because they had a whole thing to cup noodle. Great question, Steve. We got a couple more to go here, folks. Edward Varnell from Boss Rush Network at that retro code asks, have either of you felt bad when you steered another gamer away from a PlayStation game that you didn't play, but just judged until you gave that game a try and completed and loved it? Have you not done what keeps you from doing it? So basically being like, that game sucks, don't play it, even though you've never played it, and then you end up loving it.
But I never do that. I'll always give a game a try before I give an opinion on it. So I would always say this to someone, like, play what you want. Like, I'll give an opinion on a game, but if you don't like the games that I like, you're probably not going to like my opinion on my games.
Yeah, I think we've kind of both fallen in the same camp. As far as I'm aware, I've never done that to someone.
I know Matt's told me to play a ton of games that have been terrible, but I don't hold that against him.
Yeah, I mean, like same with Court. But like,
exactly. No, I'm being honest.
Yeah. I know. And that's what I mean. Like, I feel like I think you and I are pretty good at being pretty honest about what we think about games, and especially like what games are for us and what aren't for us. And I don't usually like to talk about a game that I don't know, or at least I haven't played or tried. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a very, very real possibility that happens to folks. But if we've ever steered you wrong, folks, let us know. I need to know. Delvin Cox at Delvin_Cox asks, give me a game that you think the main character is cool, but the game sucks. This is a tough question.
Oh, no, it's not. What did Ben work on the last time?
Days Gone.
Yeah, the game wasn't bad. They just the character was terrible.
No, so other way around. You like the main
Oh, other way
character, but the
around.
game
My brain.
sucks. I'm like, I think even
Every Final Fantasy game I've ever
even
played.
Days Gone works for that answer. I didn't really have an issue with the characters. I just didn't like the game.
Every Final Fantasy I've ever played, the characters aren't bad. It's just the gameplay is just meh.
Sure.
Yeah, well, no, for me, I'm just looking at like the Final Fantasy stories are good.
Mhm.
It's just for me, turn-based. It's just like I don't want to keep having to play this to figure out what's going on. I'll just go on YouTube and watch it. You know what I mean? I guess it's just what is it? Legend of Zelda is the first thing that hits my mind, but
Where you like the character, but you don't like everything around it.
Yeah, I'm going with Zelda. Hot take here.
A hot
Breath
take
of the
here.
Wild, #1 stunner.
I know it's hard because like I don't play a ton of games that I don't like. I'll usually just put the game down, or I won't even pick it up if I don't like it. I think Days Gone is a pretty good example of a game that I started. I enjoyed the main
Yeah, I
character.
hated the
fine.
character. That was one of the reasons I couldn't play that game. That and the motorcycle having to take care of it like it's a
Oh my
horse.
god, that's I hated
But
that.
I thought the main character in Days Gone was just he was punchable.
He was a little bit punchable.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think Days Gone will be my answer. And our final question from Josh O'Neill at @RealDeal_J O'Neill asks, "Hey
And
guys,
it's in the chat, by the
happy
way. Hi
Jedi
again,
Week.
Josh.
What's up, Josh? My question is with PlayStation's most recent purchase of Firewalk Studios, along with the partnership of Bungie, is PlayStation building towards a Call of Duty competitor? Hope all is well with you both. Thanks, dude. We talked about this a bit, but is this going to be the Call of
They
Duty
have
killer?
to. I think they have no choice. I think everything about playing Horizon Burning Shores is telling me without an ounce of doubt in my mind that we're getting a new Killzone. I personally really enjoyed Killzone Shadowfall. I liked the multiplayer in that. I liked the world. I am so bored of Call of Duty and don't care for it. So if you can give me something fresh, I don't know, man. I might hop into it. Division is a multiplayer game that I play. I give me a different game that isn't Call of Duty, and I think they can take it. Look what Fortnite did. I think Call of Duty only does what it does because there's nothing else out there.
Well, especially because Battlefield's been tripping over itself for the last little bit as well,
Well,
which was
it's
what
been a bad game for a really long time. The people that hold out for that thing is just I don't understand. The game is not good.
I'm gonna keep holding out for it.
Yeah, I know.
Because
It's
it
fine.
was the
Terrible.
competitor. I do think that they are
Terrible.
trying to get ready for it. I mean, like Destiny kind of lives in its own space. I hope what we get from there is something more along the lines of a COD competitor than a Destiny.
I'm looking at the list
2.0.
here. So Firework is working on an original multiplayer. Bungie is working on a multiplayer. Ben Studio, their game will have a multiplayer. Sucker Punch, their second project, besides Ghost of Tsushima 2, is a multiplayer. I'm hoping it's,
Ooh,
Ghost of Tsushima
so
multiplayer.
Real Deal
Yeah.
J O'Neill in the chat says Killzone or SOCOM is all I'm hoping for. I would take SOCOM
I
over
want
Killzone.
I
any
want
day.
Killzone or SOCOM any day. SOCOM probably over Killzone even.
I agree. That's what I mean. I would take SOCOM over
Imagine
Killzone.
they gave Bungie SOCOM. Oh my god.
Dude, I'm saying there is potential here. There is real potential here. And
I think SOCOM could take over. I think SOCOM could give Call of Duty a run for the money. One, it has nostalgia. Two, that co-op shooter, it would have that different aspect to be like, yeah, you can go out there and play multiplayer, but you're playing with your buddies. There
is real potential here. The biggest question that I have for no matter what Sony does with their first party live service stuff is the microtransactions. We haven't really had a PlayStation live service game that's done well. We don't really have a lot to compare to. All of the microtransaction stuff has been add-ons to games that had a single player mode. So any of the stuff is coming. I'm waiting with bated breath to see what it's going to look like.
Well, I guess we'll see. Factions will be first, right? And then I would guess the Horizon. But if you take the example of Ghost of Tsushima's multiplayer, it was good, and it was no microtransactions.
But again,
really
that was an add-on to a game that had a single player mode, right? Like I want to see what their first true free-to-play shooter-like game is going to look like, because that is going to be it could set the world on fire, or it could be dead on arrival if this thing is microtransactioned in a bad way.
Yeah, like I love the world of Horizon, and I still, as of right now, have my strong doubts about that multiplayer game.
That's what I mean. We got to see it. But that, of course, brings us to the end of the show, everyone. Before we go, let's shout out our wonderful patrons, which over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Join us there. There's a lot coming. Like our ultimate producers, Robbie Bobby Miller. Go to twitch.tv/Robbie Bobby Miller. Tony Baker at youtube.com/quest4pixels. Jonathan Brown at linktree.ee at pme.gib. You can check him out.
Check out Video Game Boy.
Go check out Video Game Boy. Go check it out on Spotify. And
also, for our announcement today, he was the music. So
he was the music.
Actually, he's pretty much the music on every short that I do if I put music in it. So
pretty much. Make sure you go check out Jonathan Brown stuff over on PME. And Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive. Go check out www.phoenixoverdrive.com. Our platinum producers, Markus McCracken and RJ Kern. And our gold members, Anna, BobLoblaw, Bowsah, Cecily Carrozza, Dannohh, Drellesh, Emily O'Kelly, Fulish Fuji, Hoppel, Jonas Young, Jose Jimenez, Marcus O'Neill, Tim Off, and Tim Paullin. Everyone, come hang this week, and because it is going to be Carpool Gaming Days, come hang out with us, and we'll see you back for episode 100 next week. Sean, I saw your question. What's happening? You'll find out.
We have a special surprise next week.
Get ready
for episode 100. Don't worry.
We'll talk. We'll see you soon. See you next week and this weekend. Peace.